The Lost Art with Andrew Cox podcast. Marine Corps League and Till Valhalla Project Ambassador. Now streaming on all major podcast platforms. Thanks for tuning in to the podcast that has given a voice to our veterans. The Lost Art with Andrew Cox. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lost Art Podcast, that podcast giving a voice to our veterans. I'm your host, Andrew Cox, and today we're having a veteran story. But before we get into the episode, are you enjoying the podcast? And make sure you go to the website. That's thelostart.podbean.com. You can go there, check us out, see what we're all about. You can also support us. You can become a patron with a monthly donation, or you can go in to that merchandise tab, click on that, and you can get you some cool gear. All that helps support us and getting our veteran voices out for all to hear. Also, a big shout out to the Till Valhalla Project out there doing some amazing things. If you don't know anything about that organization, go check them out. They, like I said, amazing things that they're doing. I think you'll get a lot out of it. Go support them with whatever you can do. But that's tillvalhallaproject.com. Are you a Marine veteran? Are you missing that bond you had on active duty? Then I have a place for you. Join the only congressionally chartered Marine Corps veteran service organization, the Marine Corps League. Get that brother and sisterhood back in your life. Become one of the fewer, the prouder, a Marine Corps League member. All right, we're back here. I got Carlos Garcia. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm good, AJ. How's it going?
Oh, shoot, man. Another day, another dollar. Can't complain. It's a beautiful day. So I would say a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Depends on the neighborhood, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. That's a good point. Well, hey, man, it's good to have you here. Let's just kind of start at the beginning like we do with everybody. Where did you grow up? What was that like? And then what drew you to military service?
Well, where did I grow up is kind of interesting. I kind of split my time evenly. I was born in the Bronx, New York. Go Yankees.
Okay.
Raised in Queens, New York. So I did 8 years in the Bronx and then 8 years in Queens, New York.
Okay.
And then I married into Brooklyn. So yeah, I
I love
consider
it.
myself a Brooklynite now.
Okay. Very nice. So you hit every spot just about up there. That's pretty
Three out
good.
of the five boroughs, not too
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, for sure. Very cool. Now, what was life like growing up there for you?
Um, just like everyone else, my age, I'm almost 60 now, if you can believe
Yeah.
that. I know I look pretty good for that, but
You look
but
you look about 30, man. You're doing
hey,
good.
yeah, I'll take that all day long. So, regular childhood growing up, played a lot of baseball, a lot of
Hmm.
sports, product of Catholic school education all the way up through high school.
Very
And
nice.
decided early on, my older brother uh, was going into the Navy when I was growing up, but he decided not to. But I guess that kind of clicked something in me. But I said if I was going to go into the service,
Hmm.
that I saw the Marine Corps uniform, of course, like everybody else, and said,
Yeah.
"Hey, that's badass right there." So plus, I knew that the Marine Corps was going to be a challenge, more challenging than any of the other branches. So
Right.
that's what I wanted to do in my time at that time, was see where I was going to fit in as a person and as a man. So
Yeah.
I chose the higher calling, if you would.
Yeah. No, I like that. A higher calling. That's good. So now did you join directly out of high school?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Took the paperwork to my parents when I was 17, and of course, like any good parents would, they will send me away packing. They were like, "No, sir, not happening." So when I turned 18, a few months later, I was like, "Well, there's not much you can do about it now. I'm still asking for your, like a good Hispanic kid, right? Still asking for your blessings."
Yeah.
But just to let you know, I'm going to the recruiting office next week, and I'm signing up. So is what it is, right? I knew
Very
college was not
nice.
something that I, you know, learning was not something that at least book learning,
Yeah.
was not something that I enjoyed at that moment. So
Yeah. No, I understand that completely. So, and then now what year was it that you actually signed up and joined up?
I signed up in the delayed entry program in 1984.
Okay.
I went to parasailing because I had no mentor to tell me not to, but I went to parasailing in August of 85. So
Ooh.
right in the middle of summer, it's burning, sand fleas,
Oh
the
man.
size of freaking Rottweilers, if you would. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, that is heat of summer.
Yeah.
That's humidity out the,
Yep.
and you're
Yep.
coming from New York. You're not used to that.
Well, we have the humidity in the summer. It's okay, but nothing like, oh, good Lord. And I had never been to South Carolina before. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, going to Paris Island at 0 dark 30, I didn't even know I was still in South Carolina. So, you get there, you have no idea where you are. And then,
Yeah.
when you go back, 100 years later and you look at how small Paris Island actually is, it's like,
All right.
wow,
Yeah.
you know?
And
Yeah,
it is pretty small in comparison to what everyone imagines it is, right? You
absolutely.
don't realize when you're marching around, you're just marching around the same old stuff, but you just don't
Right,
notice.
right, right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, tell me about your experience. You're getting there, it's going to be tough. So kind of walk me through your boot camp experience.
Oh, boot camp was interesting in the sense of I had two major incidents while I was in boot camp.
Okay.
Here in August, and literally 3 weeks later, my first son is born.
Oh,
So
wow.
I get a call to the first sergeant's office, and you're in boot camp and you barely know the structure. You get called to the first sergeant's office. It's like, oh Jesus, you know.
Yeah.
I was able to get a phone call home, and
Wow.
at that time it was still rotary phone on the wall. So you sit back in the first chair, call home, and he's looking at you like you got like 2 more minutes. So I went through all that. I go back to my platoon, and of course, I'm like all teared up. My first kid is
Yeah.
born as a manly boy. So and of course, drill instructors, true to form, they're like, "Oh, so you got a phone call home, huh?" And I'm like, "Yes, sir." And he's like, "Oh, good. Now you're going to pay for it." So
Yeah.
start digging, and yeah, that was fun times.
Yeah.
Um,
You're saying you definitely paid for the phone call.
Oh, without a doubt. It seemed like almost every day.
You paid
That
the
one
rest of
phone
the
call. I always
time.
tell
Yeah.
my son, that one phone call cost me. I don't even know, blood, sweat, and tears, gallons. Let's just go with that. It was
Yeah.
gallons.
That's a good point.
Crazy.
Wow. Well, now you still remember all your drill instructors, like their names and stuff?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah. Okay.
absolutely, without a doubt. My senior was Staff Sergeant Simon. He was a Vietnam veteran.
Okay.
Had a fruit salad that the base commander looked at and didn't know whether to salute him or not. So
Yeah.
yeah. And then we had Sergeant Coleman. He
Uh-huh.
was on the Marine Corps boxing team, like
Oh, wow.
6'3", chiseled Marine. And
Yeah.
then we had Sergeant Hazel, who was 5'3",
Oh, wow.
new drill instructor, but he was mean as mean could be. But within his, now that you find out years later, it's almost like a character they play that
Right.
build you up. Um, so yeah, but yeah, I remember them like we were best friends, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw I
It's
saw
one
Staff
thing you
Sergeant
never forget,
Simon. I saw Staff Sergeant Simon in the fleet once, and he was a chief warrant officer.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, that was had a very brief conversation with him, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. That's really cool. Now, what were some of the other experiences? What were the good and the bad that you remember in boot camp?
Okay, so I got two more good stories.
Okay.
I'll backtrack to first week of right after receiving, when you meet your drill instructors, or it might have
Hmm.
even been in receiving. Um, they line everybody up on the two ends of the squad bay, and you go around and you introduce yourself. So the guy next to me, God bless him, he couldn't get his name out, and me being true to form, I kind of chuckled. So that was the end of life as I knew it. I had like 4 or 5 hats around me screaming at me and telling me, that I now belong to them. So
Yeah.
every night when they call for privates that owe them, just report to the quarterdeck. I was a quarterdeck warrior, apparently. Now that
Yeah.
I'm thinking back, I'm like, I spent a lot of time on the quarterdeck, So I was very physically fit by the time I left boot camp. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
And
love
then
it.
the other story, again, it involves my first sergeant, and I guess it goes to really good leadership in the Marine Corps.
Hmm.
And so I leave for boot camp. My son is born. In November, we had mess and maintenance week, which is now something of the past.
Yeah.
Um, so I get a phone call again, first sergeant's office. And I'm like, Jesus, I know there's nobody else pregnant. I mean, I know,
Yeah.
I know exactly what's going on. I never thought I got a phone call and my mother was deathly sick. She was
Oh,
on
really?
her
Wow.
last days. So Red Cross called, and first sergeant says, look, you got a decision to make. So it was mess and maintenance week, no harm, no foul. They were like, look, we'll send you home. So they sent me
Hmm.
home, gave me the alphas, and first
Oh,
sergeant's like,
wow.
if you do anything, we're gonna kill you when you get back, literally.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
uh I guess that was the beginning of third phase. Yeah, third
Okay.
phase or something like that. And come back to New York, 10 days leave. Um, took care of the family stuff or whatever. Thankfully,
Right.
mom, even though she was really sick, she didn't pass at that time.
Oh,
So I
nice.
get back, I get back, go right to the first sergeant's office, and he tells me, well, you got two options. You can go back to your platoon or get recycled. Now you're that close to graduation. You're like,
Yeah.
so he says, if you go back to your platoon, you got to be ready for whatever the drill instructors throw at you. I
Yeah.
don't want to hear crap, because this is what you chose, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, I got to go back to my platoon. I go back, they take me out to the field, and all of a sudden, as soon as I step out, all the
Oh,
all the
yeah.
hats around me, and forget about it. Again, quarter deck champ, but I was able to reintegrate into the platoon and
Hmm.
finish what we started together, and
Right.
it was like turning point, I guess, in
Yeah.
boot camp, that I was shown that leadership and maybe even a little bit of mercy
Hmm.
on his part, and come to find out years later, and I'm talking about maybe 7, 8 years ago, I actually found him on Facebook.
Oh, nice.
Um, yeah, and he got out as a sergeant major, and he still lives in Buford,
Oh,
right
no
out,
kidding.
yeah, right outside of Paris Island. So we talked on Facebook, and I mean, he didn't remember me for whatever. You're
Yeah.
first sergeant, you see so many faces and whatever. But I told
Hmm.
him that story, and he was taken back a little bit by it. So that was pretty cool
Yeah.
too.
That is
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah,
Holy cow. Man, so you didn't lose any time, like you were able to stay with the platoon the whole time. Like you
right,
never
right,
yeah, okay.
yeah,
Good, good.
which was
So
great.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Now when did you graduate?
I graduated in November 7th,
Oh,
85.
wow.
So 3 days before the birthday, which
Yeah.
when you're a brand new boot, and you're coming back to New York, like you don't even the birthday's the last thing on your mind, right?
Yeah.
So
Very true.
you know, you're
So you,
about being home with the family, especially with things being what they were.
yeah,
You know, I had a brand new baby. My mother was sick, so I'm in New York on leave,
yeah.
and all I wanted was family time. You know, so and
Hmm.
it was good.
Very nice. And no, you got 10 days. Is that the
Got my
10 days
10
boot
days,
leave? Yeah.
even though I started 10 days in the hole, but yeah, I still got my 10 days.
Yeah, nothing like starting out in the hole. Yeah,
Yeah, you know,
that's always fun.
I guess they figured they had a long time to make it up, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah. So so at that point then you had to because they didn't did they have Marine combat training in
No,
84?
we got
Yeah,
all
I
of
didn't think
that. They
so.
didn't even have the crucible one. I mean,
Yeah.
I really feel ancient, you know, they didn't have the crucible. So yeah, we got all of that all rolled up into one.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you went from boot leave then you went to your MOS school.
Yes. I
Okay,
went
where was
to
that?
Camp Johnson.
Hmm.
Also, well, that's in North Carolina, outside of
Yeah.
Lejeune. 3043 school, supply administration. I'm
Okay.
probably one of the only few people in the Marine Corps to admit to that. You know, so quick story. I recently met the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps,
Yeah.
and so we were at a Marine Corps League function, and you know, he's got the whole intro line, and I go up to him and I tell him, "Hey, Sergeant Major, how are you?" You know, shook his hand, took the picture. I tell him, we got two things in common, and he's like, "Really? What?" And I said, "Well, our first names are the same."
Yeah.
And I said, "And we're probably the only two people to admit that we were in supply." So, you know, he got a good laugh out of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Now, how long is the schoolhouse? Was it a couple of months?
No, it was about two. Well, yeah, exactly a couple of months. It was 2 months
Okay.
long. Yeah, so that was, you know, it was okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing, nothing significant there. You know,
Okay. Yeah,
nice and
yeah.
easy.
No, I'm assuming if you were down Jacksonville area, now did you get to go out in town and
Oh yeah,
experience Jacksonville?
yes, yes. That is an experience. You said it correctly. Jayville, as it was known, right? Got my
Yeah.
first motivating tattoo back there, and
Oh,
you
okay.
know, got to get that devil dog on your arm once
Yeah.
you're in A school and you're motivated to do it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that
And
was
that's
good.
that whole tattoo thing, that's when I got mine was about that same time. So I was like, yeah, this you got to
You-
do it.
right, it's a rite of passage, right?
That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there
Yeah.
was plenty of tattoo parlors
Oh my God,
to be
yes.
had in
Tattoo
Jacksonville then.
parlors, bars, and pawn shops,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, yeah,
car
yeah.
salesmen. We can't forget those.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, you got to have the car salesmen. That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You guys rolling out with 25% interest and,
Oh my goodness,
ridiculous
yes,
payments. Yeah,
yes, yes. Absolutely.
gotta
Everything
love
they
it.
tell you not to do, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right. So then where did you end up getting stationed?
Um, Oddly enough, I got sent to the air wing, so I was swinging with the
Okay.
wing in Iwakuni, Japan. I
Oh,
was with
nice.
Mag 12.
Mm-hmm.
Um, did 2 years over there. Loved it. Got to travel all up and down, Japan and stuff.
Yeah.
Hiroshima, Nagasaki. All the typical places that you would visit, Mount Fuji and things like
Yeah.
that. And then, lovingly enough, I got sent from Iwakuni, Japan, to Camp
Mm-hmm.
Lejeune,
Okay.
1st Battalion, 6th Marines, hoorah.
Oh, okay.
And a month into that, guess where we're going? Back to
I'm betting.
Japan,
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Back to
Okinawa.
Japan. Yeah,
So out of a 4-year hitch, I did 2.5 years on Japan.
yeah.
So yeah, I was like, no, I can't go back. I just got back. Oh no, this is a deployment. I'm like, oh come on, give me a break.
How lucky can you get?
Yeah, yeah. Okinawa was fun. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was good. I don't
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
most of it, but it was good. You know?
Yeah, well, I'm sure there was plenty of days out in town enjoying the scenery and just having a good time, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one thing I do remember went snorkeling
Oh
with my
yeah.
unit, and that's something that's totally out of my wheelhouse. Um,
Hmm.
haven't done it since, so it's definitely out of my wheelhouse. But we saw some pretty cool things, and our lieutenant was a big water guy, so we were we were out there often. You know,
Yeah.
doing the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
snorkeling stuff, and I was like, okay, I got my
You
guys
know,
around me, so I'll be all right.
yeah, and that is one heck of a place to do it though. That's one of the top
Yes,
places in the world to do snorkeling and scuba diving and stuff like that. It's amazing.
yeah, I saw some really cool stuff. I mean, definitely nice,
Oh yeah.
things that you remember. Like I said, that's one of the highlights of being there.
Yeah. Now,
So
were
yeah,
you up on the northern part of the island at Schwab?
we were all the way up at
Yeah.
Schwab. Yep, yep.
Okay.
Up with the infantry, all the
Yeah.
way up, as far out of the way as possible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we would take the transportation system down to Kadena every weekend to have breakfast and stuff like that. Tear up
Yeah.
the Air Force Club.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
got to go in, mess with the Air Force, have a good time. Yeah.
Yep. There you
Nothing
go.
wrong with that.
Uh,
Now, what kind of training and stuff were you guys doing while you were there?
oh, geez. We did everything in supply that the line companies were doing.
Hmm.
So they humped, we humped, and I mean, I never got to ride in a Jeep or anything like that. So we were always humping with them. I
Yeah.
guess our claim to fame, we did a 50-mile hump, 24 hours, all the way um, through the mountains up there. I don't even remember
Yeah.
what it was, but yeah, that was interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
That's a
crazy.
heck of a. I don't even know how you do it.
Yeah, it
That's
was.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It really was. The constitution of the land in Okinawa is like red clayish type
Hmm.
stuff. So as you're going up, and I don't even know where we were, they found the 50-mile trail, and we're going up and down and around, and there was a certain parts where vehicles couldn't get through,
Oh wow.
and we're doing this overnight.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was looking back, it was pretty insane. I actually still have the newspaper clipping from that,
Oh, no
which is
kidding.
yeah. It's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Man, I couldn't even imagine though. 50 miles in a 24-hour period. I
yeah,
mean,
no joke, no
and
joke.
I imagine you had your pack, full pack, probably 50,
Full
60 pounds
pack,
at
and I was
least.
the machine gunner for my squad, so I had the
Oh,
240, and yeah, it was good. I remember our battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Smythe.
okay.
And yeah, he was he was hardcore runner guy every day, and so I guess they came up with this wonderful idea. Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah. Wonderful idea.
They didn't need
Yeah.
our permission, that's for sure. So yeah, okay, let's
Yeah,
do
they
this.
probably didn't even ask you if you wanted to. They probably just
No,
said,
definitely
"Let's
not.
go."
It wasn't on
Yeah.
their list of. It wasn't on their checkbox list. So yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's
It's
great.
funny though, because uh, being in supply, I was one of the lance corporals that actually had to go see the lieutenant colonel, have him sign off on stuff. So it's not like he could have. He had the opportunity to ask me, but he just never did. So
Man, you would think at least one of the times you visited, he would have asked your opinion, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. At least give me
Yeah,
something, Colonel.
man, man. You'd think colonels would listen to the lance corporals more often, you know?
It would make sense if they did, but hey, I get it. Trying to make colonel and general and all that stuff. All
Yeah,
right,
that's a good point. Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
I mean, that's a pretty big accomplishment for a colonel to say that, hey, we did a 50 miler in 24 hours. I mean, that's, the
You
whole
know what?
battalion.
I would think so because it kind of set the standard after that. So yeah,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Now, do you know, were you guys the first ones to do that?
I believe we were. I'm not 100% sure, but I didn't hear anybody else bragging about it. So,
That's a good point.
you know,
Yeah, if nobody else is bragging about it, then yeah.
right, you know.
Oh man, that's awesome. So you do, and that was a 6 month deployment that when you went to
Yeah,
Oki?
yeah.
Yeah. And then you ended up going back to Camp Lejeune?
That was June. Went back there. By that time, I was, I guess, short. You know,
Mm-hmm.
everything was cool, copacetic. Uh,
Yeah.
got out when I had to get out.
Okay.
Yeah, got out September of '89. Um,
Okay.
Pretty cool. Came back to New York. You
Uh-huh.
know, good stuff. One, now they have all these. I forget what they call them, but when you get out, they have all these career counselors or whatever, and they give you all your options and things like that, and
Yeah. Yeah. You're
medical
talking about
packages.
the
Yeah, they just told us,
veteran
all right,
service officers?
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
In my time, it was like, all right, have a nice day, thanks.
Yeah.
So, but I did have one staff sergeant. He was from New York, and he told me, look, when you go back, go to the city clerk's office, get a bunch of money orders. Now, see, again, I'm dating myself again. Money orders.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
does that, right? So, take a bunch of money orders with you, and take every civil service exam that you
Oh
could sign
yeah.
up for. And that's exactly what I did. So
Okay.
I signed up for 5 or 6 different civil service exams.
Mm-hmm.
First ones to call me was Department of Corrections,
Okay.
um, and that's what I went with. So
Very nice.
yeah. Well, depends on your version of nice. You know,
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. Very good point.
I don't know if you
Uh,
ever heard of Rikers Island, but
I
yeah,
have. Yeah.
yeah,
So what you're saying is you spent a little time there, not in the negative aspect of it, but more in the watching over aspect.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. I tell
Wow.
a good story. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit.
Okay.
Um, well, I finished my career in corrections, and I got a ton of stories of correction stuff, but
Yeah.
that stuff gets crazy, and some of it is still not clear of statute of limitations. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear you.
no, I'm kidding, I was clean, but fast forward, right, 20-year career. Um I was in Rikers Island. Belly of the beast is exactly what that is.
Yeah.
um Had one guy, him and we did our careers together. Me on
Oh,
the right
wow.
side of the bars, and him on the wrong side of the bars.
No
Um,
kidding.
yeah, it was weird. Yeah, I met the kid when I first started out. He was
Yeah.
probably 16, but because of his crime, he was in an adult jail.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
he was in for a murder charge, and I was on the maximum security tier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So, we get to talking and whatever. And sadly enough, he tells me, Garcia, you're the first positive male role model in my life.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, geez, that's kind of tough to hear, from a 16-year-old
Mm-hmm.
year old kid. He says,
Yeah.
I'm in the family business. My dad's in jail, my uncles are in jail, and my mom's trying to raise 4 wild boys, right?
Wow.
So I'm like, that's crazy. So he beats his murder charge. Like,
Wow.
he got a not guilty. He's
Uh-huh.
out on the streets probably 7 or 8 months,
Mm-hmm.
and he comes back for this time
Oh.
a double murder for which he's still incarcerated for.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Jeez. That's
yeah.
tough. So
It
your
is.
whole time there, you said it was 28 years, yeah?
Well, I had 17 years active, and then I bought back my 3 years military.
Oh,
So I
okay.
did 20 years, but in all actuality, I did 17 because I was one of the first guys to buy back my military time when New York City passed that law,
Very
which was
cool.
great
Yeah. Yeah,
because
absolutely.
when they passed the law, I went down and I said, calculate my time just for the hell of it, right?
Yeah.
And the lady looks up at me and she goes, "Well, you can leave now if you like. I mean, you got the time." And I was
Wow.
like, "Nah, for real?" So I went back to work. I waited about 2 weeks, and I put in my paperwork. And the best part about it was that they took it right out of your deferred comp. So
Oh, wow.
it's like monopoly money,
Yeah.
So I get home, and I didn't even discuss it with my wife. I'm sitting home for like 2 weeks, and she starts giving me these strange looks, and she's like, "You plan on going to work?" And I'm
Why are
like,
you here?
"No, I'm good." She's like, "Did you get fired?" I'm like, "No, I didn't get fired, but I kind of retired." And she's like, "What the hell does that mean, kind of retired?" I'm like, "Well, they passed a law. I put in my paperwork. They said I can leave, so I left. Things were getting hot, as we say.
Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, Federal oversight, cameras everywhere, and
Oh, yeah.
the job. The more time you have, for as great as New York City is, they come after trying to take your pension from you. The more time
Yeah.
you have on the job, trying to
Yeah.
save
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
So that was one of the main reasons why I left, and you know best part of the job is when you're off the job and you look in the
Yeah.
mail once a month. You open that mail and a nice little envelope is there. Yeah, wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful.
I want to take a moment to talk about something important: getting the VA disability rating and benefits you've earned. The VA claims process is overwhelming and can feel like a maze. For a lot of us, just getting started is half the battle. That's where Brookside comes in. Brookside Veteran Services. We've got your six. Brookside has helped tons of veterans, just like you and me, take on the VA claim system with confidence. Whether you're filing for the first time, going through an appeal, or trying to get rating increase, they've got your back. Here's some of what they offer: step-by-step help with your VA disability claim, support with appeals and increases, a personalized approach that respects the unique services and situation, and the best part, no upfront fees. They only get paid when you do. Go see the website, www.helpvetusa.com. Contact Michael Irie, Veteran Services Representative on Facebook, or email michael.helpvetusa@gmail.com or admin.helpvetusa@gmail.com. The bottom line is you served your country. You earned these benefits. Let Brookside help you get what's yours. Brookside Veteran Services. We've got your six.
Yeah, absolutely. That is for sure the best time. But man, so those 17 years that you spent there doing the job, that one guy was there the whole time, huh? Well,
Yeah,
minus
pretty
a
much.
couple of months or whatever
Yeah.
when he had gotten
Well,
out.
that was back when speedy trials were when you were waiting for 3 to 5 years for a trial.
Oh
So
yeah.
the first time he was there, probably like 4 years waiting for his first trial. He was
Holy
out
cow.
8 or 9 months, and then came back in and probably waited another 4 or 5 years for his second trial, and that went on
That's
for like,
insane.
yeah, yeah. Now it's a lot different. They changed a lot of things, So now it's you get locked up if you get locked up because it is
Hmm.
New York City. So gotta call a spade, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you get locked up, and if you can't make bail or whatever, your your trial date comes up pretty quick. So you're not
Oh wow.
sitting rotting for long periods of time anymore.
That's good to hear. Now,
Yeah.
overall, would you say your experience there doing that was a good experience?
You know what? Met a lot of good people that I worked with. You know
Hmm.
how we say, uh, what is it? You miss the people, not the not the
The
zoo or whatever. However the
Yeah, yeah,
saying
yeah.
goes. So I met a lot of good people along the way, and actually, getting to my next part of life, right?
Hmm.
I was always one of those guys. Sunday morning or Saturday afternoon, they always had church service. So I always
Yeah,
made sure all my guys went to whatever denomination they wanted to go to.
yeah.
Not so much because I was religious at the time. but because if they're gone, or you have an unofficial break.
Yeah.
So I always
It's
make
true.
sure I emptied my tier of religious service. So
Yeah.
one time, this nun, one of the chaplains, she was a nun, would come around, talk to the guys, and she always tells me, "Oh, you're one of the guys that you always send everybody, like, and I'm like, oh yes, sister, for sure. I make sure the guys get their religious service. I wasn't gonna tell her I just wanted a break, but so she says to me, she goes, I see something in you. And I'm like, oh God, don't look too deep, please. I don't want to know. And she's like, no. I see a vocation in you. And I told her, yeah, of course, I'm married. That's my vocation, blah, blah, blah. But years later, I come to find out that I do have a higher calling.
Yeah.
And as we speak right now, I'm actually an ordained Roman Catholic deacon.
No
So
kidding. Wow.
yeah. So
Okay.
and that's I always go I was in hell on earth, and now even though the church could be difficult too, don't get me wrong,
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes church politics are pain in the ass as well. So
Yeah. It happens. Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
Wow.
That's pretty wild. We kind of have something in common. So when I was growing up, my dad was a prison minister, and
Ah,
I grew up going to prisons and with my dad. I think there was a time when we were probably in prisons at least 5 days out of the week.
no kidding.
Yeah.
That's
So
heavy. That's wow.
yeah, and it was all over Oklahoma. He'd go everywhere. We went to maximum security prisons, minimum security. It didn't matter. We went to all of them.
Right.
And the only time I didn't get to go actually with him was when he went behind, what do they call it? Behind the walls
Max.
or whatever, maximum
Okay.
security
Maximum.
part.
Yeah.
Death row. That's what it is. That's what I was
Oh,
thinking
okay.
of.
Okay.
I
Oh,
couldn't go
okay.
back to the death row,
Right.
but he would do that on his own or whatever.
Right.
So I grew up around prisoners and that whole
No kidding.
atmosphere.
No
Yeah.
kidding. That's interesting. Yeah, it was one of the things when I did get ordained, like, you know, they kind of add, like the Marine Corps, they kind of give you like a dream sheet, things
Yeah.
you want to do, where you want to go. And they were 100% for sure that I wanted to go back into prison ministry. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh hell no. I want no part of that. No. I do
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. Did my time behind bars. I'm good. But
Yeah.
uh rewind a little bit. So first day of formation of the diaconate, same thing as in the Marine Corps. You get up, you introduce yourself, blah, blah, blah. So I get up and I confidently say, hey, my name is Carlos Garcia, and I just finished doing 17 years on Rikers Island, and I sat back down.
Oh.
Yeah. You could feel the air go out of the room. It was like, and the instructor user, they have everybody's portfolio, so they know.
Yeah.
So he's like, would you care to elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah.
So I was like, not really, but okay, and I got up and finished the rest of the story, So
That's
it was
pretty good.
it was a good way to start ministry. Kind of took the icing off, icebreaker or whatever it was for everybody else. So it was good. It was good. Yeah.
Now, how long? Like you said, there's a school for it. So how long was a school that you had to do?
Oof. So it's 5 years of formation, and then 3 years of ongoing formation, and continuous formation too. So there's still, to this day, I'm 14 years in, and still have to do yearly retreats and update myself on different things. You're always taking some type of class here or there. So
Yeah.
it's
And
cool.
and what are your roles and responsibilities within the church? Like, how does that work?
What are my roles and responsibilities?
That's a good question.
That's the good thing about being a deacon. It takes you in there's many different roles that you can play.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of administrative stuff because it seems to be something I'm actually good at, you know?
Yeah.
But also the interesting thing for me is that I've always had good priests that kind of given me free reign to do what I feel needs to be done. So
Yeah.
one of the great things about my ministry is that it's taken me back into my veteran community, and
Mm.
it's been an amazing ride. I rode, you know, I ride motorcycles, so we have the Leathernecks MC and things like
Mm-hmm.
that, and I ran with those guys. And when they found out, oh, you're a deacon, they're like, what is going on? You know, deacon rides motorcycles, and you know. But the good thing about that was that, um, and I'm still serving our veterans as a deacon, because many times I get a phone call and they're like, hey, you know, my daughter's getting married. Could you do it? Would you do it?
Mm-hmm.
Or my grandmother or my mom's sick. Can you go visit them?
Yeah.
Um, you know, funerals for Marine Corps League members.
Right.
So it's taken me out of the altar and the physical church into areas that most guys as deacons won't go or don't go, because you know, being in the veteran community, it's kind of like a closed society sometimes. You
Yeah.
know, we're very leery of letting other people in.
Yeah.
So me being, you know, a Marine kind of gets me in the door with no questions asked. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
that I'm a Bible thumper or anything like that, but you know, I let it flow naturally.
Yeah.
And you know, once the guys, my road name is freaking Deacon, so you know, they're gonna find out eventually that, you know, it actually means something, you know.
Yeah.
And You know, it's opened so many doors for me, and it's given me an opportunity to minister in a way to my brothers and sisters that it's just been a really, really cool experience, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
Wow. Now, how did you get involved with the Marine Corps League? Because you were doing the Leathernecks Motorcycle Club first, and then
yeah, well,
eventually,
I found the league probably about 10, 11 years ago.
okay.
And I like to get involved when I get involved.
Mm-hmm.
So my criteria for the Marine Corps League was I need to find a place that is active. I
Mm-hmm.
want them to be able to do, or I want to be able to do community service and things
Right.
like that. So I found a detachment that was um, probably about 35, 40 minutes from my house.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they had the MC attached to them. So that was a plus.
Okay.
And they were one of the bigger detachments on Long Island. So if you know anything about New York, I actually live in Queens now again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I have to travel 35, 40 minutes out to my detachment. But
Right.
because they're an active detachment, it's worth it. You know, they do Sunrise Detachment 248. Hey, so you know, got to give them a little shot, a little love. You
Yeah, it's
know,
all good.
so um, they're an act. You know, they've active detachment. They do a lot of community service things. You know,
Right.
everything that I like doing. So I sat with them, became a member, active participant. Next thing you know, I'm going through the chairs.
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know, took on the positions of chaplain, which was obviously came naturally, right?
Yeah.
You know, so I did chaplain, I did junior vice, commandant, um, kept doing that, and and the motorcycle club was doing both at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, and then I got involved, you know, on the Marine Corps League with another higher calling, I guess. Uh, I found out that the Marine Corps League is not just your local detachment. You know,
Right.
there's the department and national, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's so many other things going on. So you know, you start making your way to different meetings and this and that, and you find out that there's a whole lot of world outside of your
Mm-hmm.
detachment going on in the Marine Corps League, and it's pretty good. So now I serve as the New York Department Chief of Staff, and
Okay.
I'm the area vice commandant for Long Island. So a lot of big titles, but it is what it is. But I have 8 detachments that I work with on Long Island.
Oh, wow.
That's our logo in the back.
Yeah.
And I just got appointed chief of staff for the Department of New York. So we're still trying to figure that one out. But I guess if you watch Blue Bloods, this will sound familiar. I serve at the beckoning of the commandant. So we'll see how that goes, But I'm sure it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now, are you going to the national convention down in Texas?
I am.
Oh, okay.
I absolutely am. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And I also, as a matter of fact, now that you mentioned that, I also serve on the National Public Relations Committee for the Marine Corps League. So,
and now, how many people are on that? Because I just had Tina Harvey on.
Okay, yeah,
Monday's podcast,
right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, she is.
Yeah, she's a go-getter for real.
Excited individual, man. She had a good story to tell. It was great.
Good. Yeah, we have. I think there's 8 of us in total.
Okay.
Yeah, which is not enough to run the whole.
Yeah.
We do.
It could take way more than that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
TikTok. We have 3 photographers. And I guess the really good thing about it is that if you took a picture of us, right? First of all, we're from all across the United States. So we go from California to New York, Philly, Texas. We cover it all. And then we're all different makeups. We have, Anglo, Hispanic, African American.
Yeah.
It's picture of what the Marine Corps League actually could look like, if given the right circumstances, because that's one thing that always, it's kind of mind boggling to me. And I'm sure, when you serve, you're a platoon, you look around and there's everybody in it, right?
Yeah.
But as you look around in the Marine Corps League, sometimes, you don't see people that look like me. So I always wondered, and it's one of my things that I'm trying to figure out. Why is there, we always talk about the VSOs are having an issue with people in the seats, right? And you have to wonder if the message getting out isn't welcoming for everybody, because we always hear, the Vietnam guys, when you went to these organizations, they don't want to hear nothing about the young guys. And listen, no knock on them, but a lot of times that's true, right? So what can we do as a service organization to change that look so that these younger Marines coming from Afghanistan, Iraq, and, in between, like I am, what can we do? What are we doing? What aren't we doing to make it more welcoming to women veterans? A lot of these VSOs, a woman walks in and, first thing you hear is some derogatory comment about get back in the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
We shoot ourselves in the foot a lot of times. Yeah. There's a lot of places that are welcoming, and good for them. You want to kind of put that in the, and make that the model and send it out, right? And there's a lot of places that we need to do a lot of work on. So, I think that's one of the things that's my my thing. I want to make the Marine Corps League expand to, get our numbers back up. And if I could be a small part of that, even in New York, good to go, because there's 8 million people in New York. And even though the Marine Corps is a small percentage of that, but we're out there, we're out there. So trying to find.
One of the things that I find amazing is as you go about life and you're out and about, typically speaking, Marines are going to wear
something that identifies them as a Marine, right? Yeah, exactly. So you're out and about and you see somebody, but how many of those individuals aren't involved in anything when it comes to whether it's the Marine Corps League or anything else? How many veterans are out there, Marine specific, that don't do anything? They're not involved. They don't talk to anybody. They don't do anything. They're just out there,
Yeah.
and it's how do you get them interested in? Okay, I want to be a part of something again. I want to be a part of that service organization, the Marine Corps League, and get them involved. And I don't know that answer yet. Only thing I can do right now is just continue to push it and try to get more people excited about it or interested in it.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track. Props to you on that, because getting with newer technologies is something that is attracting to the younger people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got guys, and again, not a knock on them, but I got guys, when I ask for a form, they're sending it snail mail. Like, who still has stamps? I mean,
yeah.
I just bought a sheet of stamps because it was the 250th, and I got them to hang up on my wall.
I need to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, who actually uses stamps and things like that is, very small number of people.
True.
So one of the things, like VFW, they are taking off, but they partnered up with, and I'm sure you've heard of, like, Regiment Gaming. So
I'm not sure what that is.
I tagged you in a post. I'll send it to you again.
Okay.
It's a Marine. His name is Chris Earl. He's from here in New York. He's now out of Dallas. It's called Regiment Gaming, and what they do, and this week they just became a not-for-profit. They build gaming systems for veterans.
Okay. So, I think I do remember what you're talking about. Yeah.
So, this is one way. We have my son's 40 years, just about 40. He's a veteran, and even my younger son. They play online together all the time.
Yeah.
I have no idea. My thumbs are not that good. But these guys, they're good at it. They have leagues. They have the same way I grew up playing in baseball leagues. They grew up playing Xbox and all of this stuff. So he had this brain trust, and he started a company, and now it's not for profit, and they're giving out gaming systems to VFWs and things like that. But these are really cool. These are things that, given the latitude to think outside of the box.
Yeah.
We have to encourage these types of things to see if this is something that maybe could put us uptick our numbers a little bit. And it's not just about the numbers, but if you make a place welcoming, people are going to come. My front door to my house is always open, and everybody knows it. Like, I got people that have the code to my house. I probably shouldn't have it, but they have it, and they'll come and, hey, I could really use a plate of food today. And, the plate of food's always there.
Yeah.
But these are the types of interactions I think that we got to have with our younger Marines, the guys that are, maybe missing that camaraderie that we had in the Corps, but because they went to an event and all they see is the older guys at the bar sitting down having a drink, and that only goes so far. I've spoken to so many younger guys, and they're like, all right, I've heard all the war stories. They're great, good for a laugh here and there. But now, what are we doing?
Yeah.
I got kids,
very true.
I got a family. How can I go to the league and drag my family along, so that it's not just me going out, but my whole family gets to enjoy the Marine Corps League. And
absolutely.
So I think we have to, kind of work on making a little bit more family friendly in a lot of areas. And of course, we're going to have our members only events, right?
Yeah.
But I think we do need to step up and do some family stuff so that
Yeah,
it incorporates
absolutely.
everybody, and even the auxiliary might get a boost from that as well.
Yeah,
Like us, they're hurting for bodies too, for lack of a better word, and
yeah.
we incorporate the family, then everybody. It's a win-win, I think, for everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah. And some of those things that you're talking about, like the gaming system thing, um, the VFW, the Marine Corps leagues that, they do the raffles for the a rifle or different things like that to raise money. But there's tons of other ways to raise money. You could put on tournaments, with gaming systems. And you just, those younger guys are going to come in and do that. They can come in with their family, like if they have kids or whatever that play games as well, they can all
Yep.
come in and they
Right.
can,
And be
they
a part of
a
it.
buy-in or whatever, raise money doing things like that. Going out and, for Marines, they want to go out and shoot some weapons, locking on a range and just say, hey, we're having a range day. And have
Yep.
people come
Yep.
down, pay a flat rate or whatever, and or don't pay anything, just show up and shoot your
Right.
stuff.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Definitely. Those all good ideas, and you just gotta be able to think outside of the box, and some of the leadership needs to see that some of these younger guys, they want to serve,
Yeah.
they want to be in positions, through, as I said before, going through the chairs, but they have to be given uh, the autonomy, I think is the right word,
Yeah.
to do so freely. You can mentor them, absolutely, but when they pick a direction, support them in going in that direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And that brings up a good point, though. Even for me, as I got up in rank in the Marine Corps, it was hard for me to sometimes look at those young guys and be like, you know what, I'm going to put my faith and confidence in them and doing whatever activity. Sometimes that's a difficult thing to do. And I caught myself several times. I'm like, oh, you know what? I got to set my pride aside and I got to say, hey, we're going to try it and see what happens. And most of the time it works out well. Every now and again, a rudder steer here and there, point them in the right direction. But and that's kind of how I see it. The Marine Corps leaguers, we have to be able to say, all right, these are young guys, they're coming in, or gals, and they have ideas. Let's run with it and see what happens.
Yeah. What's the worst that could happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're not going to be any worse off than you were.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a quick story when I was a correctional officer, and you get into that mindset of you're the law, right? So
Yeah.
I guess, I mean, this is my wife's version of the story. She said I come home very authoritative, and like every good wife, she's the law in the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
So came home one day. I must have had a bad day. Came home barking orders, and she pulls me aside. We're not your freaking inmates. But that actually turned on a switch, right?
Yeah.
And you got to be able to decompress before you get home. And
Yeah.
as you said, you got up E9 master guns, so everybody's looking up at you for leadership.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good guys. Like I said before, Lieutenant Colonel never asked me my thoughts and opinions,
Yeah.
So you gotta be able to process and listen at the same time that you're leading.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to humble yourself and say,
there
hey,
you go.
I'm going to listen,
Yeah.
and just trust that, hey, that young guy also has the best interest, as
Right.
well. He just got a different way of thinking about it and a different way of doing it. And it doesn't make it wrong, doesn't make it better. It is what it is. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't try, look, if there's many. If you didn't try to learn how to drive, you'd never learn how to drive, right?
Oh yeah, good point.
So
yeah,
you got to try different things, and when you live that Marine Corps Semper Fidelis, and that training, that there is nothing that we can't do, because even to this day, my son is a Marine, and that's one thing that never changes, and thankfully it doesn't change. You give me a task, the task will get done,
Yeah.
no matter what. So if you have faith in that training, we're a brotherhood, right? I trust you blindly. I've never met you.
Yeah.
I know that you're going to have my back wherever sitting down, and I will have no problem sitting with my back to the door if you and I are sitting down having dinner,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
you have to trust that ethos, if you will, that
Mm-hmm.
we're all built of that same DNA, and
Right.
if you do that, then you'll have no problem letting these younger guys lead, because that's what the Marine Corps does. It makes leaders. I mean, I was in
Mm-hmm.
only 4 years,
Yeah.
and I've gotten to where I am now in life because of everything that I learned in boot camp.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
those 3 months, basically,
Mm-hmm.
those leadership train skills that they give you in boot camp, you'd be a fool not to apply them in whatever
Absolutely.
you choose in life. Yeah, absolutely.
But you look at the individuals that all the Marines that have gone through, whether they've done 3 years, 4 years, 30 years, whatever, and have gone on to be successful after. And they're just applying the same basic principles that you learned, like you
Yeah.
said, in boot camp. That's where it starts.
Yeah.
And you start learning leadership in boot camp.
Yes, absolutely.
So I don't know. It's one of the greatest leadership institutions in the world, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah.
I have no qualms with anything that I did in the Marine Corps, and I'm one of those guys like, damn, I wish I would have never got out. But if I didn't, I wouldn't be sitting in the chair that I'm sitting in right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everything
That's a good
happens
point.
in life for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Man, it's been great, man, talking to you, listening to your story. I have a good time doing this. So thanks for coming
Nice.
on. Hopefully you had a good time. I don't know.
Oh, I did. I was sweating it this morning, but it's you kind of make it easy, so it's good. It's good.
Yeah, like I said, I tell everybody's nervous when they come on. I always say, you know what? It's literally just a conversation. It's just us having a chat, and that's all it is. And I just happen to record.
Cool. Very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Well, hey, man, as I draw down to the end, I always ask everybody these questions. I call them my rapid fire questions. So are you game? You want to answer some questions?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. What is your proudest military moment?
I guess walking on that parade deck, graduating from 3rd Battalion. Hoorah. Thunder
I
in
like
3rd.
it. Yeah, 3rd Battalion, baby. All right, what is your most embarrassing military moment?
Reporting to the first sergeant's office after boot camp with a homemade high and tight. That did not go well. Got
I
sent
like it.
packing to the base barber for a boot camp cut.
That's a good one. I like that.
Oh yeah.
If you could be one military leader for a day, who would that be?
Ooh. I don't know. I'm going to go with the typical. I would say chesty puller.
Okay.
Something like that. But actually, maybe I would be my old first sergeant, because I think that
Okay.
would be a good chair to sit in.
Yeah. All right, that's a good answer. Good answer. If you could change one rule in the military, what would it be?
Oh wow. I probably wouldn't change much, because I like the discipline that I received, and the knowledge that I got. So I can't really think of anything that I would absolutely change right now.
Okay. Good answer, though. Good answer. What is one lesson or skill you learned that you still use today?
There is nothing that I can't do.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Through the wall, over the wall, around the wall. But if my objective is to get on the other side of that wall, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Even if I got to blow it up.
Yeah. Gotta love it. Follow through, man. That's where it's at right there. All right. In the zombie apocalypse, what would be your weapon of choice and what anthem would be playing?
I'm going to go with the Saw 240.
Okay.
Which was my weapon of choice back in the day. And of course, you got to be playing the Marine Corps hymn.
Ooh, yeah. That's good. I like it. Oh, yeah. All right. What animal best describes your time in service?
I'm going to say a chameleon.
Ooh, okay.
You got to be, you got to change with the times. You got to be, I was swinging with the wing for 2 years, and that was nice, laid back, loosey-goosey. And then all of a sudden, I'm in an infantry battalion.
That's right.
Got to straighten that back up a little bit,
You got to get ready for that 50 miler. That's what it was.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Which branch of the military has the sexiest
come
uniform?
On. Is that even a question?
I asked this question because I do have others on that aren't in the Marine Corps. So I'm always curious to see what everybody else says.
Those dress blues, baby. Marine Corps dress blues.
You can't beat them. You can't beat them. And of course, which branch of the military is the best?
Nothing beats the Marine Corps, but they're all. I'll give a little bit of props because in my family we have every branch, including the Coast Guard, represented. So
wow,
yeah,
that's really good.
It makes for interesting family weddings.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
I like it. All right, knowing what you know now, would you do it all over again?
Hell yes, without a doubt.
I like it. Well, I always give you this time words of wisdom or anything that you would have for our listeners.
Yeah, I don't know. Words of wisdom. Wisdom's not always been something I've been associated with, but I'll give it a go. I don't know. Like I said before, you take the knowledge that was given to you, you take the tools that we have in our tool belt, right?
Yeah.
And you go from having 2 or 3 little tools when you leave boot camp to, as you did, you went up through the ranks, E9, you had a much larger toolbox, right? Mm-hmm. And you learned how to use those tools. And that is something that you can, if you apply that in everyday life, I think you'll be good to go. And, you hate to see our brothers and sisters who, succumb to their demons, reach out. And for those of us that maybe, are in a position to, as, getting this word out, be available, be present to our brothers and sisters. Like my phone number's out there. I got guys calling me from everywhere sometimes. And I think that we have to avail ourselves to our veteran brothers and sisters. And in that sense, branch doesn't matter. A veteran is a veteran is a veteran,
Absolutely.
And just be present. And if you're present in everyday life, to your family, to your work, to your brothers and sisters, life is going to be good. I guarantee you that life is going to be good.
Shoot, man. What are you talking about? You don't have a lot of wisdom going on. That was great, man. That was awesome.
Listen, once in a while you strike gold, right?
I love it. Well, hey, man, thanks for coming on and doing this. Much appreciated. And like you were talking about, at the end of every podcast, I always talk about it, but veteran suicide, if you're out there, if there are any veterans that are struggling, just like he was saying, you can always reach out. The VA has great resources. You can dial 988, press option 1. You can always text 838-255, or you can go to veteranscrisisline.net and click on that chat icon. Any of those options will put you in contact with somebody that can help you out. But remember, one veteran life lost is one too many. I care about you. I know Carlos cares about you. The whole veteran community cares about you. So please reach out for help. And if you're out there, you're not struggling, reach out to the buddies that you served with. Ask them how they're doing. And if they need that helping hand, please give it to them. All right, man. One last time, thanks for coming on and doing this. Much appreciated. Much appreciated.
My pleasure.
It's awesome. All right, to all the listeners out there, stay motivated. Change your socks.